The rain dripped steadily from the office windows as David, a hard-working single dad, stood frozen outside the building he had given everything to. Just moments ago, he had been fired, taking the blame for a mistake he didn't make. His heart sank, not just for himself, but for his little daughter waiting at home, unaware that her father's world had just crumbled. Every step felt heavier than the last, his dreams of stability and security slipping further away. David had always believed that honesty and loyalty were enough to survive in a cutthroat corporate world. But today, they had cost him everything. He pressed his hands against the cold glass, staring at the office lights, feeling defeated and invisible. Just when despair threatened to swallow him whole, a gentle voice broke through the storm of his thoughts. "Come with me," said the CEO, a figure David had long admired but never imagined would notice him in a moment like this. The words were soft, almost hesitant, yet filled with a promise that sent a flicker of hope through his chest. Could this unexpected gesture change everything? Or was it another twist in a story that seemed to be falling apart? The answer waited just beyond the next door, and David's heart raced as he took the first step. David followed the CEO through the sleek, quiet corridors of the building, his mind spinning. He had worked at the company for nearly a decade, pouring every ounce of effort into his job, often skipping lunches and working late nights to provide for his daughter. And now, in a single day, it all felt like it had vanished. The CEO, Ms. Harper, walked with a calm confidence that seemed out of place in the tense silence surrounding them. As they turned a corner, David couldn't help but notice the subtle changes in her expressions. Something almost unreadable flickered across her face. He had always seen her as unapproachable, the kind of leader who demanded perfection and expected obedience. But now, her eyes seemed to hold a question, a curiosity, maybe even concern. He swallowed hard, thinking of the files, the meetings, the countless hours spent trying to cover mistakes that were never his. Why was she helping him? Was it a test? Or something else entirely? Each step forward felt like walking deeper into unknown territory, and David's heart raced with a mix of fear and anticipation. Whatever awaited him behind the next door, he knew his life and the life of his daughter might never be the same. The silence stretched, broken only by the soft echo of their footsteps, as the truth he had been searching for loomed just out of reach. David hesitated at the doorway, his hand hovering over the handle, unsure if he was ready for whatever awaited inside. Ms. Harper gave a small nod, almost imperceptible, and he pushed the door open. The room beyond was surprisingly modest. Far from the corporate gloss of the office floors, books lined the walls, and a soft light bathed the space in warmth. It was a side of the CEO David had never imagined. "Sit," she said, gesturing toward a chair opposite hers. He obeyed, heart still pounding. The tension between them was thick, but there was also a strange sense of safety here, a quiet invitation to speak without judgment. Ms. Harper's eyes studied him intently, and for a moment, David felt exposed, as if every late night, every sacrifice, and every quiet frustration had been laid bare. He wanted to ask why she had called him here, why she hadn't just let him walk away with his anger and despair, but the words stuck in his throat. "I know what happened today," she finally said softly, "and I need to understand why you took the blame." David shifted uncomfortably, the weight of the day pressing down on him. Taking the fall had been instinctive, a way to protect the team, to shield others from consequences, but now it felt like a decision that might have cost him everything. As he struggled to explain, his mind kept drifting to his daughter, to the little face that awaited him at home, unaware of the storm that had hit their lives. And deep down, he sensed that whatever conversation unfolded here would not only decide his career, it could change the fragile balance of his life forever. The clock ticked quietly, each second stretching the moment, as David braced himself for the truth Ms. Harper might reveal. David's hands trembled slightly as he tried to put his thoughts into words. Every sentence felt fragile, like it could shatter under scrutiny. Ms. Harper leaned back in her chair, her gaze steady but unreadable, making him feel simultaneously exposed and strangely understood. The silence stretched between them, heavy and almost suffocating, broken only by the quiet hum of the office lights. I just wanted to protect everyone," David finally said, his voice barely above a whisper. "Even if it meant losing my job, I thought it was the right thing to do." His eyes dropped to the floor, ashamed yet defiant. Ms. Harper remained silent for a long moment, then slowly rose and walked to the window, looking out at the city lights below. David could hear the faint click of her heels, each step echoing like a drumbeat in his chest. "You've made sacrifices," she said finally, her voice calm but heavy with meaning. "But taking the blame, it put everything at risk, not just your job, but your life outside these walls too." David's mind raced. Was she implying that the mistake he covered for was bigger than he realized? That someone or something was watching, waiting, ready to strike? A cold shiver ran down his spine. The tension in the room was almost unbearable. Each word, each pause charged with unspoken questions. David knew that what came next could either ruin him completely or open a door he had never dared to imagine. The storm of uncertainty and fear pressed down harder, and he realized that nothing about his life was ever going to be the same again. Outside, the night wind howled against the windows, echoing the storm building inside. As David braced himself for the revelation that would test everything he believed about honesty, loyalty, and survival. Just as David began to steady his racing thoughts, Ms. Harper turned abruptly, her expression sharp, almost urgent. "There's something else you need to know," she said, her voice low. "The mistake you took the blame for. It wasn't just a simple error. Someone is using it as leverage against the company, and now they know you're the one who covered for it." David froze, a cold dread creeping up his spine. His heart pounded as he tried to process her words. Someone was targeting him. Why? How had a simple act of loyalty turned into a dangerous game? The room seemed to close in, the warm light now feeling oppressive rather than comforting. Ms. Harper stepped closer, lowering her voice even further. "You weren't just protecting your colleagues, you were protecting secrets you didn't even know existed. And now, by stepping in, you've become part of something much bigger. Something that could threaten not only your career, but everything you've built for your daughter." David's mind spun. The files, the meetings, the long nights, was it all part of a trap he hadn't even seen? He glanced at the door, wondering if leaving now could save him. But he knew that once you were in this kind of storm, there was no easy escape. Every instinct screamed for him to run. But something in Miss Harper's mix of resolve and warning told him that turning back wasn't an option. The stakes had just doubled, and the line between survival and disaster had never been thinner. David's chest felt tight as he followed Ms. Harper down a hidden stairwell, the hum of the office fading behind them. She led him to a secure room filled with monitors, documents, and a small team of trusted executives working silently. "This is the truth," she said, her voice firm. "The mistake you covered for was part of a scheme to sabotage the company from within, and because you took the fall, you exposed the real culprit without even realizing it." David stared, stunned. All those long nights, all the stress and fear, he hadn't been punished for nothing. His loyalty had become the key to uncovering a corporate betrayal bigger than he could have imagined. Relief washed over him, but it was quickly replaced by a sharper tension. The person behind the sabotage was still out there, watching, waiting for a chance to strike again. Ms. Harper placed a hand on his shoulder. "I trust you, David, and I want you to help me stop this before it's too late. But you need to understand this will test you in ways you've never imagined." Just as he nodded, determined to rise to the challenge, a soft ping sounded from one of the monitors. A single file opened, showing a message that made David's stomach drop. It wasn't only the company at risk, someone had found out about his daughter. The fight for survival, for truth, and for his family had just begun. And now, the stakes were higher than ever. David's hands shook as he stared at the monitor. The threat to his daughter making the stakes feel unbearably real. But instead of panic, determination took over. With Ms. Harper's guidance, he helped expose the culprit behind the sabotage, a trusted executive who had been manipulating company records for months. The confrontation was tense, but David's courage and integrity had made him a force no one could ignore. In the weeks that followed, the company stabilized, and David's name was cleared. Ms. Harper personally praised his loyalty and bravery, offering him a new role where his skills and honesty could truly make a difference. For the first time in a long time, David felt a sense of security, not just for himself, but for his daughter, whose safety and happiness had driven every choice he had made. The experience left David changed. He realized that sometimes, doing the right thing means risking everything, and that true strength comes not just from skill or intelligence, but from courage, integrity,